The struggles and issues that you deal with, the patterns that keep repeating in your life over and over again that cause you the most suffering and the most pain, are not just your issue. Our society tends to make us believe or convince us that if something's wrong in our lives, it's our fault, right? We have this pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality where if something doesn't happen that's right in your life, well, you didn't do something to change it, then it's your fault, right? If you're not successful, then you must have done something wrong that didn't make you successful. Had nothing to do with your environment, how you grew up, the family you were born into, and so on. We are impacted by 7 generations of trauma. Trauma is an event that impacts us so negatively that we feel that we are a different person before the event than after the event. Trauma is not the event that happened. Trauma is the reaction to the event that happened, the internal state that shifts and changes inside of us, such that we see the world, we perceive the world differently. Our world is incredibly messed up. There's wars and famine and trauma all around us. Events that are taking place that cause people to feel different inside of themselves. What we've discovered in the genetic sciences is that 7 generations of trauma live inside of you. So 2 people can have the same experience but have totally different responses. One can have a trauma response and then another one finds resiliency. Now, why is that? There's a lot of factors that go into that, but part of it is how someone perceives the world. If you feel a victim to the world, that will change your perception of how your genetic code is read. And we know that this is the truth because of the study of epigenetics. Very new science, but it's basically the study of how the genetic code is myelinated, or basically a sheath is placed over the genetic code such that it isn't read. So a part of your genetic code isn't read and other parts are read. So you can't change the genetic makeup, but you can change how it's read. And what changes how it's read? The environment that you're in and the perception of the environment that you're in. If you're in a threatening environment, you see the world as threatening. And your genetic code will be read in such a way as to try to protect you from that. But the trouble is, when you're actually safe, you can't move into a state of rest and relaxation and receptivity where you're able to take in nourishment, social nourishment, physical nourishment, and other types of nourishment, right? The love and affection that people around us have for us, and food, literally food. So it impacts our body, it impacts our psyche, it impacts our mind, and it impacts our relationships. Your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather and grandmother, if they had something happen to them that caused them to feel fear and restrict themselves in how they connected with other people because they're trying to keep themselves safe from their environment, that has an impact down the line to you. This makes healing a very complicated issue, right? Because now we're dealing with things and memories that are not necessarily a part of your life, but a part of your family's life and the history that led up to making who you are. Your struggles are not your fault, but you can do something about them. Because the epigenetic factor shows us that the perception of our environment changes how our genetic code is read, that means we can do something about our perception of our environment. How we perceive our environment and our internal environment impacts our genetic code. This includes how you perceive your external environment, and it also includes how you perceive your internal environment. How you relate to yourself. Do you love yourself? Are you compassionate towards yourself? Do you see yourself from a light of love and understanding? If you're not starting from that place, that's the place where we need to work. How do we move you into a new understanding of different identity? One out of the sense of victimhood, of I am being controlled by life, into an understanding that I am connected to everything and everyone, that it's not my fault necessarily that I'm dealing with the things that I'm dealing with, but I do contribute to it. That I am a part of a bigger picture, a bigger sense of identity as a collective, connected through your ancestors, through your genetic line. And also, I have power to change how I perceive my own experience of this reality. And it's in the changing of our perception of how we see things that all of the change begins to happen. If we approach our life with a judgment towards ourselves and towards our problems, trying to seek and find the problems and saying, "Oh, I'm the problem, I'm the problem. I don't know how to fix this. I got to get out of this. And this anxiety that comes with trying to heal, we won't find healing. We will constantly be in a state of victimhood towards our circumstances. But if we can take a step back and say, okay, I'm having this experience, I'm having this hardship. How can I relate with this hardship in a way that's compassionate and understanding of the bigger picture of my life? So you look at your life and you say, wow, I was impacted by my mother's fear of X, Y, and Z, my father's fear of X, Y, and Z, and their parents' fear, and their parents' fear, and their parents', right? We're being given these perceptions of how to view reality. When you were a kid, you knew how to connect with your inner being. You knew how to connect with your authentic self. Throughout your life, you were conditioned by the trauma of generations before you of how to perceive yourself, how to perceive the world, how to perceive other people, and what your role is in relating to all those people. You were also socially conditioned by the collective trauma and the collective perception of our world. So our whole culture is about image, status, right? How much money you have. So these things are starting to frame and shape your identity of who you should be and who you need to become in order to be successful or important. These are all lies. They take you away from the truth of who you are and your true nature. When you come into contact with your true nature, you know exactly what you should be doing. And it doesn't necessarily mean you know what career you're going to take or what place you want to live in, but it does mean you know where it feels good to be in your body. What places make you feel good? What people make you feel good, right? And especially when it comes to people, our intuitive sense of who is safe in our lives gets muddled because we begin to distrust our intuitive sense of who someone is and how we feel around them. It does get messy, right? Because when we have trauma, when you have an experience of someone invading your space, then you become fuzzy about who is safe and who is not because you trusted someone at some point and there was an innocence that was taken from you. And the reclaiming of that innocence is about beginning to sense and feel within your body how it feels to be around certain people. There are many ways that our society takes this away from us, our intuitive sense of what it feels like to be around people and to be safe around people. And the reattunement to what that feels like has to do with coming into contact with the pain and suffering that happened to you all those times ago, that caused those disruptions, and the pain of the previous generations that have come to you and live inside of your body. This process is not an easy feat by any means. It is a rocky road. It is a road that takes effort and commitment to it. But it is possible to retrain yourself to attune back into your authentic self and to know what feels good and what doesn't feel good inside of yourself. This inner compass is your only way of knowing how to navigate the world. If you're not connected with this inner compass, then you can't navigate the world in an authentic and sincere way. When you are connected to that inner compass, you might be wrong sometimes. You might be wrong about people, you might make assumptions because our memories are carrying with us and causing us to see other people through a different light. And so the process of removing those filters of perception that other people have given you to see the world in, to draw assumptions about the world and about other people, the process of removing those things is a long process. And we're continually doing that, revealing different layers of assumptions that were given to us from a very young age, especially. This process is very difficult to do on your own. I help people reconnect to their authentic self. If you feel that you are resonating with what I'm saying, it's a strong likelihood that I can help you, that I can help you rediscover the intuitive sense of who you are, what your purpose is in life, what you're supposed to be doing here, and how you can read your environment and see the ways that people are operating in your life that are disharmonious to your being, that are taking your attention and your energy away from where you're supposed to be going, and stopping the people that should enter your life from coming into your life. When we are so consumed with certain relationships that are dysfunctional, it closes the doors for other relationships in our life to open and to have people who are authentic and genuine and aligned with our inner sense of who we are and our inner being, and it stops them from being able to enter into our life. When you step back and remove those relationships and those places and people and obligations that are not aligned with who you really are and not aligned with your innocent self that you knew when you were a very young kid, then we allow a kind of blank space to be in our environment. We don't know where we're going. It's kind of scary. Then we allow a mysterious space to enter into our life because that was familiar. The past, you were living in the past, that was familiar. Even if it was a dysfunctional relationship, it was familiar to you. When you step outside of that, it is very difficult to stay in that place of, okay, I don't know exactly what the next step is, but I'm going to stay in this place and not go back to that old pattern. Oftentimes, people revert back into the old pattern. And so that's why you get repeat relationships where you feel the same patterns repeating over and over, and the same dysfunction coming up, and the same pain coming up. When you can do this, step out of those patterns, back into yourself, it can stabilize you in a new way of relating with people, a new way of relating with yourself, and a new way of relating with the world. And then the magnetism of who you are, of your authentic self, becomes stronger and stronger because the energy that you are giving to that person that was dysfunctional, or that place that was pulling your attention away, or the obligations that you had that you felt like this is who I should be, and all my boss has expectations of me, and all these things, all of that was being pulled away from you gets reintegrated right back into your body. And all of a sudden, your magnetic field begins to expand. Your magnetism begins to expand. And what that does is it allows space. What all that stuff was taking was occupying a certain space in your mind, in your body, and in your attention and awareness. And now that you are out of that, you have the space to allow something new to come in. And the people and opportunities that need to come into your life will automatically come into your life because you are aligned within who you are. This process is a natural process that your body already knows how to do. But because we have all these social conditioned filters over us and stopping us from being in contact with that authentic self, we can't access it. And I'm here to tell you that if you resonate with what I'm saying, with how I'm saying it, and with who I am as I'm sharing myself, my authentic self with you, there's a high likelihood that I can help you. If you feel this way and you want to work together, email me, connect with me, and let's see what we can do.